Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Zureick and I'm the Economic Strategist here at Johnson Investment Counsel. And this is the JIC Research Edge. The 2020 election is now mostly complete, with the exception of two key Senate races in the state of Georgia that will be decided by runoff elections this coming January. And while we can't be 100% sure how these runoff elections will affect the balance of power in Washington over the coming years, the election picture is now complete enough to start thinking about the potential for new policy action and the implications that policy action could have on the economy as well as markets. As we sit here today, Joe Biden is now the president-elect, and Republicans currently control 50 seats in the Senate. And while there's no way to guarantee that Democrats won't pick up the remaining 2 additional Senate seats, most political strategists believe it's highly likely that Republicans will win at least one of those 2 remaining races. And so in that environment of ongoing divided government, it's highly unlikely that we'll see any large-scale sweeping legislative action. And that's good news for those of you who may have been concerned about the prospect for higher taxes this coming year, because Senate Republicans will be highly unlikely to support any legislation that carries with it materially higher tax rates. And so while divided government will inhibit the ability of policymakers to pass any grand legislation, we do still believe that a couple of things could get done. Believe it or not, there are a couple of key items that enjoy bipartisan support. For example, prescription drug price reform, as well as potential for modest infrastructure spending. And lastly, we believe that President-elect Biden could work to dismantle a lot of those pieces of legislation enacted by President Trump via executive order. Specifically, we believe the Biden administration will work to reduce or even remove tariffs on imported goods from China and potentially look to re-regulate areas like the environmental control or even energy markets. And so at the end of the day, the limited ability of policymakers to pass grand legislation will likely inhibit Washington's influence over the economy over the coming years. In the near term, however, we do remain optimistic that now that we've made it past the election, policymakers could agree to some additional COVID relief, but the long-term impact of Washington, D.C. looks highly limited. And while it certainly is frustrating to live in an environment of divided government, we actually believe that that's a fairly friendly outcome for markets. If you think back prior to the election, as the odds of a so-called blue wave started to increase, market volatility picked up. One main reason for that was the market's fear over the prospect of higher business as well as personal taxes. And so now that we've made it past the possibility of higher taxes, the market's likely to refocus back on those key themes that were driving performance prior to the election, not the least of which is the fight to control the spread of COVID-19. As always, thank you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to anyone at Johnson Investment Counsel.